penetrated Mr. Castle's skull in the lower right quadrant, or more specifically, the sphenofrontal suture, which is the cranial suture between the sphenoid bone and the frontal bones, both here and here.
I believe what my expert witness is trying to convey is that my client, Frank Castle, was shot, point blank, execution style, in the head. Could you please describe the damage Mr. Castle sustained from the bullet?
It fragmented on impact, causing damage in both the right frontal lobe and temporal lobe of his brain.
What are the effects of such an injury?
Mr. Castle is suffering from what we call sympathetic storming. It's a heightened and ongoing state of fight or flight in which the sympathetic nervous system is hyperactive, as if he is reliving the incident of trauma over and over again. It can plunge a seemingly peaceful individual into mental and emotional chaos.
Sure sounds a lot like PTSD.
That's not where we're going. Listen.
Could you define it for the jury, please?
Extreme emotional disturbance. It's twofold. First, the defendant is so emotionally disturbed that he loses control. And second, the defendant has a reasonable explanation for said disturbance from his point of view.
Are you aware that Frank Castle's wife, son, and daughter were all murdered right in front of him when he sustained the brain injury in question? An injury which you say keeps him in a perpetual state of mental and emotional chaos.
I am, yes.
With that in mind, would you say that Frank Castle's mental state satisfies the definition of extreme emotional disturbance?
Objection! Calls for a conclusion.
Your Honor, Dr. Lee is an expert on the brain. He is qualified to an opinion, and said opinion is not only relevant, but imperative to the case.
Overruled. Dr. Lee?
Personally, I do believe he is suffering from EED, yes.
And one who's suffering from extreme emotional disturbance, is it possible to willfully premeditate a crime?
Any infractions would be considered crimes of passion.
How many of your other patients witnessed their families being brutally murdered right in front of them, other than Frank Castle?
He's the only one.
And so would you say the circumstances surrounding Frank's mental state is different than those of your other patients?
I would.
And what exactly would that difference be, in simple terms?
Frank Castle's been through hell.
Thank you.
You killed my dad! I don't give a shit what you've been through.
Order.
You killed him!
Order in the
I
court.
saw him
Please
in his
remove that
coffin
young
with
man
holes
now.
in him. He was my dad, and now he's gone.
I am now instructing each and every one of you to disregard that outburst and to not let it influence your opinions on this case.